Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. And welcome to the second presentation of a series we call The Food Revolution, Hebrew University and the Future of Food. One of the things that many of us find so exciting about Hebrew University is watching innovation move from the lab into companies that have the ability to change the world. And today we will feature another such company. My name is David Riccinati, and I'm a proud member of the AFHU's Western Region and National Boards. And I'm honored to welcome to this program featuring Dr. Jasmine Ravid, CEO and co-founder of Kinokotech, and Dr. Daria Feldman, CTO, Chief Technology Officer of Kinokotech, a company whose mission is to transform food by creating meat, as they will tell you, from fungi. And for those of us, otherwise known as mushrooms. Food technology has become a hot area of investment worldwide, with the US as the #1 source of funding and Israel as #2. And Hebrew University is an important part of that ecosystem. As many of you know on this webinar, the Hebrew University was founded by distinguished visionaries, including Albert Einstein and Sigmund Freud, among others, and opened its doors in 1925, 23 years before the existence of the State of Israel. Since then, HU faculty and alumni have gone on to earn Nobel Prizes, field medals, Turing Awards, Israel prizes, and the one that really grabs me the most is 10,000 plus patents covering 2,800 inventions, and have generated over 130 spin-off companies. And today, the latest Shanghai academic ranking of world universities placed the Hebrew University among the top 5% of universities worldwide, as well as the leading university in Israel. Germane to today's webinar, the Hebrew University has the only faculty of its kind in Israel, the Robert H. Smith Faculty of Agriculture, Food, and Environment, which is focused on sustainable and renewable agriculture, energy, and conservation. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, I can't think of more important topics for the future of our world. Since its founding in 1942, the faculty has generated incredible advances vital to Israel's economy and agricultural productivity. And research spans the gamut from drip irrigation, fruits and vegetables that last longer, taste better, are disease resistance, to no surprise, desert zone agriculture, and even using plants to clean polluted waters. And now they are focused on food technology, which brings us to Kinokotech. Kinokotech has shown us that edible fungi can be transformed into a new form of food. And they are growing the next generation of superfood using the power of fungi and deep tech fermentation to provide what really are an amazing variety of sustainable, delicious, and equally important, highly nutritious food. Our speakers today, in addition to their leadership roles at Kinokotech, are also both alums of Hebrew University. And it is really my pleasure to have met them and to introduce them. Dr. Ravid is the CEO and co-founder of Kinokotech. She has a PhD in plant sciences from the Hebrew University, as well as a BSc in nutritional science. She has been leading Kinokotech since the founding of the company in 2019, and Dr. Ravid has recently been named among the leading women in Israeli food tech by the Modern Agriculture Foundation. Dr. Daria Feldman is the CTO of Kinokotech. Dr. Feldman has spent over 12 years studying the growth and development of philanthropous fungi. And don't ask me to say that again. It's so complicated, it took 12 years of research to develop, I'm told. She has 3 degrees, a BSc, MSc, and PhD, all from the Hebrew University. And Dr. Feldman, I'm sure if there's other degrees available that you will, I'm sure, be pursuing them shortly. She has been awarded numerous awards and prizes in recognition of her work, including the prestigious President of Israel Prize for the best PhD student in the country. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ravid and Dr. Feldman, who will present for 25 to 30 minutes, and then we will take questions at the end. So please put your questions in the Q&A, and I will feed them back to our presenters. And again, welcome Dr. Ravid and Dr. Feldman.
Thank you, David. So I will start by sharing a presentation. Let me know if you can see it well. Sure. So thank you for this very informative introduction. And I will kind of tell you more about our journey to grow delicious and process highly nutritious food and how this story actually began and where are we now. So our journey actually began, as we mentioned before, the Faculty of Agriculture, Food and Environment. This is where Jasmine and myself and a third co-founder, Dar Shochat, we met. We are alumni of the university. We all studied at the faculty. And this has shaped a lot of how we think about the goal and how we envision our invention and how we actually pursue this goal. And this, but set on this side, how we're going to feed 10 billion people by 2050, it's something that is really incorporating how you think and how you, through all the curriculum at the faculty. And it's something that is brought us together by this kind of vision. So I think we all know that we're depleting the sources of the planet. And a lot of that is that we increase the CO2 production, the carbon footprint. And we have less land to grow all these vegetables and beef and all the nutritious food that we want. And it's a big mission to tackle. There's a lot of solutions, and we're going to focus on just one and bring you what we think is going to be a great solution. But I think even the biggest question then how to feed 10 billion of people is how we're going to do that in a delicious, in a nutritious, and sustainable kind of way. So it's quite an easy if you just reduce your meat consumption. So to produce 1 kilogram of beef, you need to incorporate like 6 to 8 kilograms of grains or soy proteins. So you, in generally switching to plant-based diet, you can really feed this amount of people. But people not switching to plant-based. So you do need to bring something that will be nutritious and delicious as well. And the solution we actually thought about, and as David mentioned, I spent a lot of time at the university studying fungi. So I kind of fell in love with this kingdom. It's really a kingdom in a tree of life. There are 350 million of species, much more than you have in plants. It's really untapped by the potential it has in biotechnology and specifically in food tech and by generating great products. But what are fungi? So as I mentioned before, it's a kind of a kingdom with its own in the tree of life. But in terms of food, they're really, really great. So you have a complete protein source, and you have all the essential amino acids. You have really great dietary fibers that are good for your health. But you also have this texture, this really complicated word. David mentioned filamentous fungi. These are fungi that grow in terms of, they look like a root-like structure. So they generate this great texture. And if you ever had a portobello mushroom or any kind of mushroom put on fire, and you have this juiciness and this amazing texture that maybe even reminding you of meat in some way. So this is something that is very unique to the kingdom of fungi. So you have something that is great in texture, make it delicious. You have nutritious, complete protein source, but it's also very, very sustainable. So producing fungi, growing fungi, it's a very sustainable process. It's many, many years of evolution brought this system to grow in great in any environment with little resources. So we decided when we met together, I thought about the idea of actually utilizing the kingdom in bringing a new solution, kind of fungi fermented food, to the table. And we came around this idea. So basically, what we're doing is we're using the power of fungi. So what our product is actually combined of, it's a mycelium. Mycelium will be the root-like structure of fungi. It will be this kind of a fluffy, white, moldy texture, but it covers the gums and grains, which ferment together. And this is actually really, really nutritious and has a really great texture. And as the Jasmine will explain later, it has a very kind of a unique culinary aspects you can bring into that. And unfortunately, you can't really taste it at the moment, but believe me, it's really, really, it tastes really great. But in terms of sustainability, it's amazing by any point. And I'm a scientist myself, all amazed about this kind of numbers. It significantly reduced, and not just by 5% or by 10%, 95% less land that you need to grow meat. 95% the carbon footprint. You can grow it anywhere. You can grow it in the coldest country, and you can grow it in the Sahara, and it's really not dependent on the climate or whatever it is. It's a very minimal energy use. So it's not a solution that, okay, if you reduce the carbon footprint, but you need a power system of its own to regenerate so much energy to produce a product. It's very, very minimal use. We are kind of a zero waste. We're almost a zero waste platform. Anything that goes into our production comes out. So most of what we can be from 1 kilogram of lentils, we can produce 2 kilograms of fermented lentils by fungi, which is amazing if you think about it. It's even, what's even striking, it's even reduced by 90% the percentage of water used in producing of tofu, which is one of the most minimally produced products out there. So who we are. So David actually introduced me and myself and Jasmine, but the third pillar of our company is Adar Shohat. She's the CEO, responsible on the operational side of the company. She's coming from also alumni of the Hebrew University. She has a big science and food technology and has a vast experience in managing operations from the IDF. She's been a combat officer at the IDF for over 13 years. And we all came together at the faculty. We actually met at the entrepreneurship club, student entrepreneurship club, in a program by Hasper Huji Innovate. And they were even, it wasn't called Hasper at the time, they were just Huji Innovate. And it was this preliminary program that they thought that we're going to bring some students and maybe some people have some vision and alumni of the university. Maybe we can come up with some entrepreneurship. Maybe they can come up with some innovation. So we met there, and I pitched to Jasmine and Dar the idea of having fungi as a food replacement. And well, they kind of came aboard, and which was surprising because they always said that when the moment I actually pitched the idea, they were like, okay, we're going to eat something moldy. No, it's not going to taste great, but it is. And during this program, and together with Asper would innovate, and we kind of had an interaction with the food tech in Israel, and having this feedback from companies and potential clients, let's say, and inventions. So we kind of understood that we really work well together, and not only that, we have a great invention on our hands. So what we actually do, how a process actually looks like. So this will be like really simplified version of what we do. So we take different legumes and grains, and we just soak them. In our case, our first product would be based on lentils. So we take lentils, we soak them in water, we do some kind of sterilization for food safety. Afterward, we just add some fungi, and we have this kind of a patented way to grow this kind of fungi that you take some really small amount of seeds, if you like, and combine them together with this pre-cooked or pre-soaked legumes. And that's it. This is actually when we let at this point to biology takes its own turn. we just let it stand for and grow and ferment for 4 and 5 days, and we can generate products in whatever shape that we like. We can do different hamburgers or patties or sausages that just not unprocessed. They will grow in any shape that you would like. We can do like grow like big bites that can shredded or be like more of a cut into cubes, but we can really grow the next generation food. After harvesting, we just take it out and it's ready to be cooked. And Jasmine will explain more about it. We're going to.
I will take over from here, but Daria will need to still move my slides, so I'm counting on you here.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, if you imagine, we can grow anything, right? Because as Daria described it, the shape of what we grow inside determines the 3D structure of the end product. So if we will grow into the molds, like ice cube molds, we can grow into molds of patties, small ones, big ones, kebabs, this kind of a kinoko bar, meal on the go. And we can really diversify with what we put inside, you know, what kind of legumes, grains, or other plant-based ingredients. We can diversify with the strain of mushroom or fungi, so we can really control the texture and the taste in the end. And we can diversify with the shape. So there's a huge amount of possibility. And what fungi is doing for us, that the mushroom, it creates in a completely cooling way the taste and the texture, which are, as I said, amazing. Just this great, juicy mouthfeel and a rich umami flavor. But it also creates a huge nutritional transformation, because for the mushroom, for its own growth and development, it simply eats away most of the simple carbohydrates. So significantly decreasing the glycemic index, significantly improving protein level, but also transforming the protein into a complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids and a lot of very unique dietary fibers called beta-glucans, which also have a lot of beneficial to human health. So just taking something that is already quite healthy, such as lentils and quinoa, and transforming it into super healthy with the taste and texture that we desire to eat in our day-to-day. So really giving a new solution for our lunch as an alternative for animal-based products, which is really the vision of the company, as Daria said. Daria, move my slide. Great. So as I mentioned, we have a lot of different applications that we are working on, but right now the first product that we launch into the market will be the center of the plate meat analogs. So you can see we did some kind of landscape analysis, kind of looking what are the other solutions out there right now for animal-based consumption. And we kind of categorize it into 3 pillars. The one is kind of like the old, more traditional meat alternative, like tofu, tempeh, which are extremely healthy, but doesn't really give the sensory experience on the plate customers want. The other one is the meat analogs, kind of imagine the beyond and impossible 2.0 plant-based, which in our eyes miss the target for many consumers because doesn't really hit on that clean, good taste, kind of hit on the texture, if you will ask me, but then losing it all together with the nutrition, with how much they are processed, and also with the price, which is always quite premium. And they are cultured meat, which is amazing, but that's kind of like tomorrow's solution, or let's say 10 years from now a solution, and we are looking for a right now solution. So in our technology, we really aimed at something that can be extremely affordable, extremely scalable. Tomorrow, we can open up lines of production in different places around the world and really give to people good experience with the taste and texture without any processing. So we want to keep it clean, 3 ingredients, no funky ingredients inside like methyl cellulose and things I will not say here out loud, and just give really natural solution for people for their lunch. Okay. This is also why we see our product as something that fits all consumers and all regulatory, and not regulatory, so dietary restrictions. I'm into regulatory today with Daria, so yeah, but all dietary restrictions. Just if we mentioned regulatory, then we already have regulatory approval to start selling in Israel, in Europe, in the US. So not a problem there also. Of course, non-GMO and no allergen, and very simple to make it also organic, high in protein, high in micronutrients. So it also fits a DASH diet, just kind of checks all the boxes. So where the company is right now. So I would say that our vision when we started the company, again, when I met Daria almost 4 years ago, is really coming closer to realize. And we are now in the final stages of signing the first commercial agreement with one of the leading companies here in Israel in the alternative protein section. We already have a pilot production site in Israel, which is operating. And once we sign a commercial agreement, we are going to launch in Israel. The first product is going to be 2 types of lentil-based patties that we are going to produce in our facility, grow it, and then they are going to, the company that are part of is going to sell it in Israel in supermarkets. And we are already working on collaborations with Europe and Australia. And basically our business model is saying we want to keep the growing as local as possible, kind of taking the sustainability of it even another step. So we are starting by producing products in Israel, the minimum amount needed to do the proof of concept and to test the market with our partners. But then once we move beyond that step and we see that the market is accepting and customers are happy, our partners are going to start opening up growing lines or production lines inside their own facilities, whether it's in Australia or in Europe, or later on, hopefully also in the US. So we can also get as local growing or production as possible and ship down on the need to just send our product across the seas. So really exciting time for us. As I mentioned, we got the regulation cleared and patent is on its way. The production first one is operating, so we can start its POCs with different companies. And yeah, right now we are really looking for opportunities for food companies who want to join forces with us and start working with this kind of a business model. Yeah, we just end up saying that the main, like the key things for us developing this technology was affordability and scale and unprocessed. So we really wanted to be a solution that can be grown everywhere and give a healthy alternative for people to eat day to day.
Amazing. Amazing. And I don't know how everyone else feels, but I'm sort of blown away by what you've accomplished already in a pretty short period of time. So we've got bunches of questions. I will start throwing them out to you and you guys can decide who wants to answer. So let's talk about affordability. So one of the big issues facing all these alternative foods are they're expensive, which keeps consumers away. What do you think, given your way you're developing the product, can these burgers, for example, be the same price as regular meat burgers in the grocery store?
Yeah, definitely. They can be the same price. They can even be cheaper. And I'm not talking about, you know, decreasing the price over a decade. I'm talking about decreasing the price in the next like 1 to 2 years. And the reason is both ways. And maybe Daria will want to elaborate on the part about the technology itself and how simple it is. I would just say that it takes away all the need for any downstream processing. So like if you can imagine a Beyond Burger with 25 ingredients, all of them highly processed, then you need to put it together with this extrusion, which is highly expensive. You can't help it but creating this premium product because so much effort was grown into the way to create the texture and the taste for you. And for us, because the biological growing of the fungi is doing kind of all the work for us, then we really end up with a product that besides growing it, you don't need to do anything else with it. And Daria, if you want to elaborate more about how sustainable is the growing and affordable.
So for us, like we're taking the cost reduction is mainly by the fact that most of the kind of cost structure for a product will be like the initial legumes. So and if you think about it, legumes are cheap. they're not expensive. Lentil is not a premium product. So if you think about the major costing of production is just lentils, so you can understand how much we can really reduce the cost. Obviously, we need electricity and we need some water. But most of what we do is we're not doing anything. It's mostly done by the fungi. It's mostly a biological process. So we only provide the necessary kind of environment. And once it will be fully automated, it will be really, really cheap. So it will be like mostly a bit more than the cost of lentils, but really close to that.
So the big secret is the fungi do all the work, is what you're telling us.
Okay. So it's to give the fungi the perfect condition to do the perfect work.
I bet they work 24 hours a day, 4 days a week to produce, and they're not asking for overtime. That's great. So, okay, I'm sure a lot of us are wondering, I'm seeing some questions, you know, now we get to have cheeseburgers again, which is very exciting. Is the product kosher, and kind of what does it actually taste like?
Yeah, it is. We actually have a kosher certificate, so the short answer will be yes. And yeah, so it's actually because it's in kosher, it's perfect. So it's not meat and it's not dairy. So it's very easy to get a certificate. So yeah, it's vegan, so it's not. Okay,
so cheeseburgers, here we come. I love it. And how does it taste? That's what I think people are wondering. Like, does it taste like a burger? And if you change it into something else, does it taste like a meatball? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel like it's really hard to describe taste and texture over an audio call.
Over Zoom?
yeah. It's always like every time. But we were not trying to artificially make it resembling meat, right? So we will not add any artificial flavoring to try to give this meaty flavor. And we will not, again, do any manipulation on the texture to get it to be more fibrous. In the natural form, what it most resembles is just eating a portobello mushroom steak, you know, these really big mushrooms you put on the grill and then you take a bite into them. So this kind of juicy, mushroomy flavor is what I can closely resemble it. But I feel like everyone who is eating it is mainly surprised is how natural and clean it is. Kind of like people that are coming to us and are very used to eating plant-based food. They are taking a bite and they are waiting for the off notes to come, right? This extra processed off notes that you always get when you are eating a plant-based products, and they never come. So this is the main surprise we always hear from people.
Yeah, it's usually it's surprising. It's really hard to convey how the taste and texture is going to be like, but I think people who taste it for the first time really surprised and really good.
Yeah,
they're not expecting any, so it's surprising.
Well, I think your earlier point, which most people don't realize, is a Beyond Meat burger, which has those flavors you described, is a highly processed product.
Yeah, it's also processed.
You shouldn't be confused that it is a unprocessed piece of plant-based meat that you're eating. It really does come out of a big factory, as you have described, quite different from your process. So, you know, there are mushrooms that we talk about here in the US, like lion's mane, which is kind of hot right now. And there's other turkey tail and all these mushrooms that people have talked about. And Dr. Feldman, you said there was like 350 million different species, things, your word, you understand better than we do, out there in the world. How did you pick what mushroom ingredients to use to make these products?
So we actually we did a lot of screening. So we started with something that we had like an initial idea that are fungi that are used for food production. So they would be considered grass in the US, like generally regarded as safe. So they have history of use. And mostly we did a lot of screening. So we saw what would be like the better fermentation process. It would take quicker. So we had some strains that it took over like 30 days of growing the same product. So it was not good enough. And mostly it will be eliminated by taste and texture. So we came up with something that was perfect for our needs, something that had the higher ranking. But a lot of what guided us, not only choosing strain that had like history of use and consumption, but it's also like regulatory kind of easier regulatory pathway. So we knew that we're going to tackle the mission of the R&D and scaling up and bringing the actual products to the market. We knew that we can do it like in 3-4 years, we could have these products on the market exactly, but we envisioned in the first it's going to be on market by 2024. But we wanted to have the regulatory pathway to align with these dates. So we didn't want to pick something that would be maybe has really great potential, but it's going to be stuck because we need a lot of experiments and toxicological tests to prove it's actually safe to consume. So this is definitely narrowed our risk.
I guess we shouldn't be surprised you took a highly scientific, thoughtful approach, which totally makes sense. So maybe the last question on making the product. So always the question comes up, what is the secret sauce? What is the intellectual property? What is the thing that no one else can do that you're doing? And it sounded to me like it was something about in that fermentation process. Can you maybe talk a little bit about, and know that I'm guessing no one on the phone is a scientist, so keep it easy for us. Like, what makes this unique and different that you've been able to come up with?
So there's a lot of, let's say, scientific data that brought to that specific kind of experiment and then the invention, the specific of the invention. We do have patent. So the patent itself actually kind of provide us using many strains and allows us to different legumes and grains with different combination with different fungi. Well, but actually, when you write the patent, so you try to keep as much information to yourself, but we actually kept it. What we do reveal is that our patent is mostly on the texture of the end product. So we have this unique fermentation and combination and how we grow and the amount of oxygen and this like scientific fermentation parameters that allows the mycelium to grow and cover all the different legumes and grains and generate a very specific texture, like in the parameters we kind of decided upon. Obviously, we have some data that we never disclose and a lot of information that we keep as trade secrets. So this is basically what we do. So fermentation, making the fungi happy, is like the biggest secret.
Okay, I think that was perfect language for us, keeping the fungi happy. That makes a ton of sense. And maybe we'll talk about a few more things before we wrap up here. I think a lot of people are now kind of interested. So let's talk Hebrew University, and then let's talk about the product coming to market, which I think we're all excited about. So maybe just how did Hebrew University help you? You talked about the entrepreneurial club and coming together. Are there ways that Hebrew University helped you launch and get started in your business?
I think that there are several layers to this question. First of all, I think everyone in Israel, but also outside of Israel, are very aware of the brand strength of the Hebrew University. So when we say like Hebrew University alumni, it definitely resonates with people, and kind of the scientific aura gets bigger, and as the founding team, which is very technical and it's like to bring the strength in research and science to the forefront, it really helped us being able to say the Hebrew University is behind us and a spin-off of the Hebrew University. So that alone helped. And beside that, I feel like the Hebrew University really gave us many opportunities to meet with influential people, either investors or people in companies. There are several investors who invested in our company that have come through meeting with different, we've been to a lot of Hebrew University, how is it called, board seat things? How is it called, Daria? The Board of Governors.
The government.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely a lot of opportunities who came by through our connections and our participation in the Hebrew University events.
Great. Well, and you have a big audience here today. who knows, could be future participants in your company. So, okay, maybe let's wrap up with the questions I'm seeing a lot about taste, which we talked about. Tell us about when we're going to be able to eat this. Is there, tell us when you mentioned it's coming to Israel.
Yeah, so
When can we get our hands on some? And is there anything we need to know? Like, are there regulatory barriers that are going to prevent this product from coming to us consumers here in the US? And I think we have some people from England as well on the call.
So regulatory barriers, happily no. We really solved that issue.
We already kind of overcome them.
It's been a struggle, but we overcome the regulatory hurdles. We are planning to commercialize in Israel this year. In the US, we are working with a chef in New York. We might do some very limited launch just to test the market, but no big commercialization plans in the US for 2023. In Europe, we are working with several partners that might allow us to launch already this year. It might be the beginning of next year. Most likely in Europe, we will begin launching first in either Germany or Switzerland. But then, yeah, it will be distributed hopefully also to the UK and the rest of Europe. So I think in 2024, there will be at least some places you can get it in both Europe and the US and Israel, and also Asia Pacific and Australia, and in every kind of continent.
I like that small ambition, Dr. Ravid. Product available everywhere. I guess what you're saying is we have to come to Israel to taste it. Is that what you're telling us in the short term?
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds like a plan. Well, I want to really thank the two of you for staying up late, putting a lot of effort into preparing to share with us really these exciting innovations that you developed over a long period of time at Hebrew University and am now bringing into the market. And as you said, Dr. Ravid will hold you to it in 2024 everywhere in the world. But if you do a tasting, by the way, in the US, I'm going to lobby for Los Angeles. And for everybody who attended today, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Hebrew University. If you're not, please reach out to any one of us, or you can look on our website, afhu.org. And also, we should look forward to the next webinar in our series about the future of food that we hope to do sometime in the next 6 to 9 months. So thank you again, everybody, for attending. And most importantly, thank you, Dr. Ravid and Dr. Feldman, for your valuable time. And we all wish you best of luck. It doesn't sound like you're going to need it in spreading the happy fungi all around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. It's been a pleasure.